Libra, you were not made to live like the other 11 signs. You thought you knew what it was like to live like a Libra. But what if the calm, gentle, balanced demeanor everyone praises about you is just the part you let show, and behind it lies an entire war that no one has ever seen? While the other 11 signs of the zodiac live with impulse, roots, fire, depth, without asking permission to exist as they do, you learned very early on that making quick decisions hurts, that disagreeing pushes people away, that taking up too much space is risky. And that's not gentleness. It's a protection system so well constructed that even you convinced yourself it was just your way of being. In this video, I'll show you exactly what it's like to live like a Libra, compared to each of the other 11 signs: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, and what these differences reveal about a pattern you've carried for so long that you don't even realize it's there anymore. By the end, something about you will make sense in a way it never has before. And it's curious, because from the outside, you seem like the easiest sign of the zodiac, the one that doesn't cause trouble, the one that adapts. But inside, Libra, there's a silent war going on all the time, between what you want and what you think you need to give up to continue being loved. Gemini speaks to make you think. You think so you don't have to say too much. Cancer feels and shows. You feel and organize the sensation into a beautiful phrase before letting someone see how much it hurt. Leo shines because it wants to be seen. You shine because you learned that being seen in a harmonious way is safer than being seen for real. Virgo fixes the world out there. You fix the atmosphere between people without anyone realizing it was you who made it work. And perhaps that's the first uncomfortable truth. You don't seek balance because you're kind. You seek balance because at some point you learned that imbalance was dangerous. Scorpio dives deep to uncover what's hidden. You already know what's hidden. You just decide, with almost strategic delicacy, what's worth bringing to light and what's better left alone for now. Sagittarius seeks freedom in movement. You seek freedom within structure, which sounds contradictory until you understand that for Libra, a well-made structure is freedom. Capricorn builds to last. You build so as not to tear anyone down in the process. Aquarius breaks patterns to prove a point. You observe the pattern, understand exactly where it hurts, and only then decide if it's worth breaking, because breaking unnecessarily has never been part of your way of being. And Pisces dissolves into the feelings of others until losing its own outlines. You come close to this dissolution, but maintain, almost by instinct for survival, a thin thread connecting you to yourself. 11 different ways of being in the world. And you, in the midst of them all, trying to be the bridge, without realizing that perhaps all this time, the bridge also deserves to cross over somewhere. What if what you call being flexible was actually just a fancy name for the fear of taking up too much space? Think about it. How many times have you changed your mind in a conversation, not because you changed your opinion, but because you felt the air become tense and decided, without even realizing it, that your peace was worth less than the other person's peace? You call this education, but what if it was, in fact, an old agreement, made with a much younger version of yourself, who decided, at a time you don't even remember anymore, that disagreeing was too dangerous to risk? It was in seeking answers to these reflections that the digital book, The Divine Wisdom, that guides your zodiac sign to a life with purpose, was born. More than just a simple read, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to help you understand patterns, develop a more conscious attitude, and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of difficulties. Many people have already begun this journey of self-discovery and found a new way to look at their challenges. Now it's your turn. Access to the digital book is available in the first pinned comment. Don't delay the opportunity to learn a perspective that can transform how you face spiritual envy, strengthen your energy, and continue your journey with more clarity. Click now and discover how the divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life can become a guide to a more conscious, balanced, and resilient life. It's not about learning to compromise less. It's about learning to recognize clearly the exact moment when you've traded your own voice for a silence that's too comfortable to be healthy. The book doesn't teach you to stop seeking harmony. It teaches you to distinguish real harmony from harmony bought with pieces of yourself, something every Libra at some silent point in life needs to learn to do. You are reading this now, still grappling with the unanswered question from a moment ago, still recognizing, perhaps for the first time in words, a pattern that has always been there, disguised as kindness. It is precisely in this state, uncomfortable, honest, still raw, that it is worthwhile to act before the mind finds a polite way to forget what you just felt. The link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And while this settles, here's a question for you to leave in the comments. When was the last time you gave in during an argument, not because you changed your mind, but because you couldn't stand the discomfort of disagreeing? There's a mirror that every Libra carries without realizing it. It's not vanity, it's vigilance. You constantly look at yourself through the eyes of those around you, adjusting a millimeter here, softening a tone there, because at some point you learned that the most accepted version of yourself was safer than the truest version. And the worst part is that it works so well that it doesn't even seem like a problem. It seems like social talent. It seems like natural charm. Nobody suspects that behind that balanced smile, there's an emotional calculation system running all the time, measuring every word before it comes out. Imagine a jeweler's scale, one of those sensitive enough to register the weight of a gram of dust. That's how your emotional perception works. You sense the change in the air before any other sign realizes the air has changed. And this sensitivity, which could be a gift, often becomes a prison, because you learn to react to the emotional climate of others before even checking your own. And here's the question no one has asked you yet. If you spend so much time calculating other people's comfort, when exactly is it your turn? There's a scene that repeats itself in the life of almost every Libra, and it's never dramatic. Quite the opposite. It's the moment when someone asks, "What do you want to do today?" And for a tiny second, something inside you freezes. Not because you don't know what you want, but because part of you is already calculating, will what I want displease someone? This pause, so small it's almost unnoticeable, is the exact portrait of your most intimate mechanism. Deciding is never just about you. Deciding is always, first and foremost, about the impact your decision will have on those around you. It's like walking through a crowded room holding a glass filled to the brim. Every step is calculated so as not to spill anything, not a single drop, because spilling, for you, was never just about the glass. It was about disappointing someone who trusted you to get to the other side without making a mess. But one nagging question keeps coming back. How much of your life have you spent holding that glass, so afraid of spilling it, that you didn't even stop to drink from it? There's also another side to this story, one that's rarely told honestly. Libra has a reputation for being indecisive, and that reputation is unfair because what's happening inside you isn't indecision. It's overload. Every simple choice becomes, in your head, a whole simulation of consequences. If I choose this, who gets upset? If I choose that, what do I lose? If I choose nothing, maybe nobody gets hurt. And that's exactly where the problem lies, because not choosing is also a choice, but one you make unconsciously, repeatedly, thinking you're being neutral when, in reality, you're just postponing the discomfort of taking a side. Restaurants, movies, weekend plans, all of this suddenly becomes a small emotional minefield. It doesn't matter, you choose isn't indifference. It's protection. Because if you choose and someone doesn't like it, it's your fault. But if you let the other person choose, you're free. Free from making a mistake, free from displeasing, free, above all, from being responsible for a desire that was only yours. And this is where things get more serious than they seem at first glance, because this peace that you so carefully build, brick by brick, smile by smile, has a price, and you're always the one who pays it. Every Libra knows that feeling of finishing an entire day, having pleased everyone, and yet feeling a strange emptiness, an exhaustion that has no name. Because at no point during that day did you ask yourself what you really felt about any of it. There's a type of loneliness that only those who live with this pattern understand. The loneliness of being surrounded by people, of being loved, of being considered easy to get along with, and yet feeling that no one, not even yourself, truly knows what lies behind the harmony you create. Because it's one thing to seek genuine balance between what you need and what the world demands. It's quite another to repeatedly give up on yourself until the word balance becomes just a pretty name for silent resignation. It is precisely at this point, when you recognize that you traded pieces of yourself for a piece that was never truly yours, that it makes sense to talk about a tool that helps reverse this pattern. The digital book, the divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life, was created precisely to help people like you differentiate between the balance you build from the inside out and the one that is merely a well-maintained mask. It brings together interpretations, teachings, and exercises designed to help you recognize in your daily life the exact moment when you are about to erase yourself to keep someone else comfortable. It's not about ceasing to care about others. It's about starting to care about yourself again with the same intensity. The last units at promotional prices are selling out quickly. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. But not everything in Libra is about yielding. There's another layer even more hidden that few discuss: beauty as a strategy. You organize the environment, choose the right words, create visual and social compositions almost effortlessly. And this isn't just refined taste, it's control. It's a subtle way of managing how the world perceives you, because a harmonious environment is more predictable, and the predictable is safer for someone who feels the chaos of others firsthand. But there comes a moment, usually silent, when this aesthetic becomes a facade. When the house is spotless, but your head is in pieces. When the conversation flows elegantly, but inside you're screaming something you'll never say out loud. And then comes the most uncomfortable question of all. How many times have you profoundly disagreed with someone and yet kept a straight face? Because openly disagreeing seemed too big a risk to take. The truth is that Libra is rarely seen arguing. Not because they don't feel anger, they do, and deeply, but because they learned early on that expressed anger pushes people away, and pushing people away is exactly what they fear most. So the anger doesn't disappear. It just changes form. It becomes subtle irony. It becomes strategic silence. It becomes impeccable politeness that, if you pay attention, sometimes has a layer of ice underneath. And this leads to a painful truth to acknowledge. Maybe you're not as peaceful as everyone thinks. Maybe you've just become exceptionally good at hiding the war. Imagine a dam. From the outside, the water seems calm, almost still, a perfect mirror reflecting the sky. But no dam can hold water forever without consequence. Pressure builds silently, layer upon layer, until one day, without clear warning, something small and seemingly insignificant is the drop that cracks the entire structure. And those nearby are left wondering, why did you react like that over something so small? But it wasn't because of that small thing. It was because of everything that was dammed up before it, silenced in the name of keeping everything in order. This is one of the most painful paradoxes of bearing the symbol of the scales. You are, at the same time, the most talented sign at resolving other people's conflicts and one of the most avoidable when the conflict is yours. You know exactly what to say to calm two people down when they're fighting. But when you're the one who's hurt, something freezes you, and silence still seems safer than the truth. And it is precisely about this hidden anger, this war disguised as education, that it is worth stopping and thinking. Recognizing this in yourself is the first step, but recognizing it without the right tools can become just another thought that passes and disappears. The digital book, The Divine Wisdom That Guides Your Zodiac Sign Towards a Purposeful Life, offers specific exercises to help you name what you feel before it turns into irony or icy silence. It talks about the difference between maintaining peace and betraying yourself to avoid conflict, something every Libra needs to learn to distinguish once in their life. This kind of clarity doesn't come on its own, and access to it is becoming more limited every day. The link is in the first pinned comment. There's a scene that repeats itself almost identically in the life of every Libra, even if the details change. It's late at night, the house is quiet, everyone you helped today has already slept peacefully, and you're still awake, reviewing conversations, rearranging phrases that have already been said, trying to understand if you did everything right. It's the scale weighing itself in the dark, with no one to balance it on the other side. And this specific solitude is different from any other, because it happens precisely in the moments when, from the outside, your life seems most full of people. You build bridges all day long. You resolve misunderstandings that aren't even yours. You smooth over situations that don't directly concern you. And there's a question that rarely anyone asks you. Who builds bridges for you to cross when it's your turn to need balance? And perhaps this is the deepest pattern of all. Helping has, at some point, become a way to escape oneself. While you're busy balancing the world around you, you don't have to face your own internal imbalance. Solving others' problems is more comfortable than sitting alone with your own unanswered questions. And the more you help, the more the moment of asking, balance for whom, after all, is postponed. Because if you spend so much energy taking care of other people's harmony, at some point there's very little left to take care of your own. Recognizing that helping has become an escape is not a reason for guilt. It's a reason for attention. And it is precisely at this point that many Librans find in the digital book the divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life. A practical path to refocus their attention inward. The material offers reflections focused precisely on this pattern, that of taking care of everything except oneself, and simple exercises to gradually reverse this without guilt, without drama, with awareness. Promotional stock is running out, and this kind of clarity has real value when applied early. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. And after looking at all of this, the carefully carried full cup, the polished mirror for others, the anger hidden behind impeccable manners, the dam that holds back more than it should, the scale weighing itself at night, perhaps the question is no longer, how can Libra live like the other 11 signs? Perhaps the right question is, why would you need to? Because at its core, each of these 11 ways of existing is also a form of escape. Aries escapes by overthinking and making quick decisions. Scorpio escapes the surface by diving too deep. Pisces escapes its own identity by dissolving into the other. No sign escapes having a side that also weighs heavily. The difference is that you, Libra, are the only one who carries the symbol of all of them at the same time. And perhaps it's time to stop comparing your way of existing with others and finally start admiring how much it costs to do what you do every day, without almost anyone noticing the effort behind it. Aries has the courage of impulse. Taurus has the firmness of roots. Gemini has the lightness of words. Cancer has the depth of raw feeling. Leo has the strength to occupy space without asking permission. Virgo has the precision to organize chaos. Scorpio has the courage to face what is hidden. Sagittarius has the freedom to move without fear. Capricorn has the patience to build slowly. Aquarius has the courage to be different without explaining itself. And Pisces has total surrender to feeling without reservations. You don't possess any of these isolated strengths, and perhaps for a long time, that has seemed like a weakness. But the most beautiful truth, the one almost no one tells you, is that your strength was never in being like any of the 11. It was always the rare ability to feel the weight of each of them simultaneously, and even so, insist on finding a point where all of this can coexist without destroying itself. This is not indecision. This is not weakness disguised as gentleness. This is, in the end, a silent and almost invisible form of courage. The courage to continue searching for true balance, even knowing that it never comes ready-made, even knowing that sometimes it will cost dearly to find it. And perhaps it's time to remember that the scale you carry doesn't exist just to weigh the world around you. It also exists to teach you, little by little, to put yourself on the other side.